Hello students. Now let's discuss ambiguous grammar. So what is an ambiguous grammar? That is the first question to be answered. If the grammar has two leftmost derivations or two rightmost derivations or two different parse trees for the same sentence, then we say the grammar is said to be ambiguous. So let us take one expression grammar. E produces E plus E or E minus E or E star E or E slash E or ID. Okay. So let us consider one sentence ID plus ID star ID. Now if this same sentence is having two different LMD or two different RMD, then we say the grammar is said to be ambiguous. Let us see how it goes. E produces, let me start with E plus E by putting the production E produces E plus E. So I got E plus E. Now what we need is we need a star. So for this I am using leftmost derivation. So this is ID plus E. By putting the production E produces ID. Now ID plus we need star. So which production gives us the star? E star E. E star E gives us the star. By putting E produces E star E. ID plus this would be ID star E. E produces ID. Now we got ID plus ID star. For this let us substitute ID again, the same production, ID plus ID star ID. We started with E plus E. Now let us take E produces E star E. By putting the production E produces E star E. We are using one more leftmost derivation. So for this let us take E plus E star E by putting E produces E plus E. So for this let us take ID plus E star E by putting E produces ID. So ID plus E is ID star E, same production. Now ID plus ID star ID by putting the same production. Now look at the two LMDs. This is LMD1, this is LMD1, this is LMD2. LMD2. Okay. Here we started with E plus E, there we started with E star E. In the derivation process, if at least one step is different, then we say the grammar is said to be ambiguous. So here the first step is different, the grammar is ambiguous. Let us see how to make the parse trees. For making the parse trees, we have to see these productions. So E produces E plus E, LMD it is ID, this E produces E star E, then this produces ID, this produces ID, ID plus ID star ID. Now let us make a parse tree for this. E produces E star E, then the first E produces E plus E, E produces ID, E produces ID, E produces ID. So, ID plus ID star ID. Are the parse trees same? No, the parse trees are also different. So, what is the conclusion? The expression grammar is an ambiguous grammar.